You hear it. Got to keep it clean. Water. You know it. Peace and love. Truth and wisdom. So we're going to get a little comfortable before we bring our documentation to the forefront. So how y'all? Hope all has been well when you're on this path. You may stumble, but all is well. Because every day is another day. Every moment is another moment to get right. So we take right understanding and we turn it into right mindedness. And of course, peace be upon all the greats who left the way of liberation. A lot of us have been involved in intercepting through spirituality. Spirituality is just a concept that allows you to lean to your own understanding. Spirituality is not associated with sacredness. Spirituality is just a modern term from modernity. Hey, are you saved? That's what we're going to get to. Because we're going to go into that word. Yeah, we're going to go into that word. Bring some things on the screen that's going to show what what salvation is. Let's go. It's mentioned 6 times. So we're going to see just from the gates, do we get salvation meanings wrong? Or do we have the salvation of the meaning that's right? So as my documentation comes, and it's right there. So I load up. I'm going to get straight to it. Okay, we can get ready to begin. Tufayan Sharif. Speaking. Peace and love. Love divine. That's wisdom divine. So as you see, we got, let me bump it down a little bit. You see, we got the salvation. You hear the water. I hope you got your clean water. We're going to look up salvation from a Western perspective and an Eastern perspective. So we're going to see the Eastern perspective first of the highest law, considering divine and holy instructions. Then we're going to go to the Western side and see what they have to say about salvation from their holy and divine instructions. So now, from the East, as the sun rises, 27, salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart. So we're establishing now the salvation is a ladder reaching. We know there's a beginning and an end to a ladder. And you can't have a short ladder and get to your destination. So the ladder has to be perfect and linked to get you to your destination. So from this ladder that we're speaking about, it has to reach from the heart of man to the heart of the divine creator. So first, from the east, it deals with heart. The heart is a symbol of salvation in the east and is symboling the love one has for one's divine creator. Okay, that's one demonstration. We got 6 demonstrations. It says 6, we as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of America for me, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Peace to all of Africa and peace to all of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. That was a large statement. Our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed. Is Christianity the first religious creed? Do Christianity belong to European nations? The next salvation says, therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers, which is not our forefathers, who created the true and divine first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. So their forefathers prepared the church and Christianity for the European nations. We, while we, the Sufayan North Americans, are returning to Iceland, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. So the first religious creed has to be Iceland. And we know that to be different than what we have in North America. There is no Iceland in North America. The Sufayans bring the Al Sufayan of Iceland, the way and the laws and the covenant of the great God, Allah. We have the original sacred text. And so we have to understand the divine salvation does exist in I, Salam, of all Sufayan. So as we move, it blocked me out. What happened? It blocked me out. Payment management service. I don't know what they talking about. Just open up another tab. Oh, good, my brother. That's it. Oh. Let's see. If we still on, let me look. Okay, yes, we on. It blanked out. You know when you get into this divine, things wanna become, huh? What we gonna do is we elevate. Okay, salvation. Okay, we cover those. And salvation is in the Sufyan North American prayer, aka the Moorish American prayer. Peace be upon the great prophet Noble Drew Ali. All is my protection, my guide, and my salvation. So you see these things. Our salam includes all these things because it pre-existed what we thought was the first religious creed. The Bible is not original scriptures and is not the first scriptures. Those are not the scriptures of the East. Those are scriptures from families, conquering people, then writing their own version of scriptures for the West. And so the West would believe that these were and are the only scriptures in the whole entire planet, from the cross and more. So as we learn more, 16, thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is his higher self. Men seek salvation from an evil that they deem a living monster of the nether world. And they have gods that are but demons in disguise, all powerful, yet full of jealousy and hate and lust. Mm, from evil. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna come back. Let's see. Is the word salvation? And no, this word salvation is not in the Sufyan. So we can disregard it for Sufyan. So now we're going to go to the West and view from their holy and divine instructions. We have it now. Give me a moment, take a sip. So I don't dry out on y'all and we don't finish this video. So once we finish this live, then, which won't be long, we got to get this knowledge dropping and then we got to do what's necessary. We up all night, we grinding, we getting it in, bringing this to the forefront, working hard like it's playoff time, baby. And so here we come. Article 108, Salvation. Canon 41, 81. Salvation is the dogma. Salvation is the dogma and concept first introduced by the Roman code in the 16th century, that as all people are born with original sin and therefore lost. Now, did we hear that? Did we read that? For y'all listening, did you hear that? For those looking, did you read that? Salvation is the dogma and concept first introduced by the Roman cult in the 16th century that as all people, the Roman cult got enough guts to write and not show these people, which would take courage. So they never showed us, who are the people at large of the public, this information. Salvation is the dogma. Salvation first is a dogma. Second, it's a concept. It's not a reality. It's not a truth. Who created this? Roman code. When? In the 16th century. What version Bible you got? 1611. Do it say it in the Bible that you have of the 1611? All people are born with original sin and therefore lost. God has granted the Roman cult the exclusive right to savage the souls through the sacraments of baptism and penance. We cover baptism. And the penalty is the penance, the punishment. Hence, salvation is the lawful receipt. A receipt. You get a receipt when you purchase goods, property. We did cover that since 1933. They are trying to say that Christians do not own their own soul. And that since they don't own their own soul, they are classified as things or property or form. Receipt is a form. So we're talking about salvation is a receipt of goods and payment to the Roman cult for the salvage and recovery of lost property. In the case of baptism, it is also known as the salvation of treasure. Peace and love to all those who seek for truth. And if you click on these channels and watch these videos that we call for, these, peace to y'all. Because these are seekers of truth. And in these, from young to old, truth welcomes all. So we're here for truth because we respect knowledge. And knowledge is our guidance. Canon 4182. Salvation is derived from a 16th century created word from Latin. Oh man, from Latin. And they say Latin is a dead language. Latin being a dead language will bring to reason why salvation is a concept and a dogma. Word of the Latin word salvis. Salvis meaning to make safe and secure possession without violating the divine law. Did we hear this? Salvation is a remedy put in place by those who created the word salvation to violate divine law without violating divine law. Now, does that make sense? In writing, it doesn't violate law. In action, it violates divine law. Hence, the salvation of the soul is the claimed securing possession of property, of property, of property. They classifying the soul as a property, when in truth the soul is immortal. Let's bring some proof to the pudding. And in fact, the soul is immortal. We go one understanding. 20. That our flesh shall corrupt. This comes from a Sufa. And 20, it says that our flesh shall corrupt and decay, yet our spirits are immortal. Of the spirit, not the soul. The soul, too. The soul, the immortal soul, is mortal. Not the soul, nor not the spirit. So, of the soul, the Romans from Persia and the Hindu say only some men and women are born possessing a divine immortal soul. They call, with an A in front of it, a human. Only. Now that's what the Romans say from Persia, and that's what the Hindus say. Well, let's see what the Sufiyans say. Well, we get straight to the cut right here. Number 7. Thus, the soul, which these people who associate under the name of Roman cult, they wrote and defined the soul as a salvageable property, lost property, and that you can pay for one's soul. Now, the Sufiyan says, under the Sufa, the soul, Sufa 42 and 7. Thus, the soul is all, and all souls, not only some men and some women, all souls are all. So, violation of divine law is violation of all, not what is written on paper. Because written on paper can have the wrong understanding. And if you receive the wrong understanding as right, that makes you wrong. So again, under Roman language, the word soul is the salvation of the soul as the securing possession of property. Of property. Denote that it has no divineness and it does not come from the divine creator and therefore savageable. And they saying since it's in writing, they can violate divine law without violating divine law. So we have to understand these words and why language is what's stuck in your sokai and your gyrus. That's the grooves in your brain. We have to re-cleanse. We have to re-cleanse the mind, the spirit, the body. So now let's go forth. Canon 4184. Salvation is deliberately and falsely. Salvation is deliberate. Holy breath for getting through. The breath for stopping it. Hey, well, salvation is deliberately falsely compared to the concept of redemption. So salvation and redemption is not the same or character. A person who is capable of reforming a previous behavior or character is called redemption, meaning that you're not a form. If you can change the form, then you're not the form. But under Roman Western laws that I call Romanism, we should call Romanism, to understand divinity from non-divinity. All laws that are claimed by the Western, all Romanism is under with covenant and oaths. The breath, the holy breath is what made all souls. The holy breath doesn't need salvation. Redemption is enough. When we're talking about redemption, we're talking about reforming. Reforming one's is reforming one's character. This understanding. Number 13. These tools remind me of the ones we handled in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character, where we build up behavior, where we reform character, where we reform behavior. All this is done in the mind. And with the mind, there a form and now classified as property. Redemption. Remember we read that in the word, the false concept is salvation. The true reality, which is not a concept, is redemption. As we find redemption in 5, that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of all there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption, for the redemption of the sons of peace under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So there go the word right there. And so now we find out Absalom is the true and divine religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind. So they took what was whole and cut it into parts. Where Absalom was for mankind, and Absalom was for the redemption of the fallen sons and daughters. And so salvation for mankind, redemption for man. We have to clean and reform our ways and stop having an adopted way of life from serving the gods of their religion. So redemption is in the Al Sufyan. Fire, fire, fire. We done went from lit to fire. Sufyan. Canon 4185. Hold up, no, we didn't finish 84. We're gonna start right here instead. Instead, salvation depends upon the promotion. Salvation depends. It's not even standalone or independent. It depends upon the promotion of the concept of original sin. Salvation leans on the false concept. False depends on false. That's the only thing that makes it seem real is the possessing non-locational awareness. So it's bilocational as itself and someone observing the concept itself, giving it life, but it's not reality, because reality is cosmology. And you don't see no word in the stars, sun, and the moon spelled out in English letters, salvation, and yet letters at all of any word. So salvation, as we are brought to awareness, as we raise our awareness, salvation depends upon the promotion of the false concept of original sin. And even worse, salvation is a commercial claim. They make money off the word salvation. Commercial means business. Salvation depends and is a commercial claim of right, dressed up as the body is dressed by the mind. So is the writing dressed by the mind. And these people's minds want you to dress up as a slave. And they let you know as a religious dogma that it has nothing to do with religious. It doesn't have to do, it has to do with dogma. It is dogma. It is not religious. Salvation is a dogma, a false dogma, and a false concept dressed up as a religious dogma to give it some breath of holiness. Unholy can never be holy. That exists, as you see, these acts of unholiness, as we reading about. This is a proud thing. This is a proud thing. I see why I'm saying thing, because it's a thing. You're getting commercialized and classified as a thing. Because Romanism don't recognize the soul as independent from the body. They recognize the soul as the body. And as the body is mortal, so the soul is savageable and mortal. So when they mortify the body in their text, they want to yoke it. They want to yoke this. They want to yoke your soul with the body and have it savage, not only on paper, but in your mind. Canon 4185. Remember, this is a receipt. This salvation is a lawful receipt of goods and payment received by the Roman court for savaging souls under the dogma, under the dogma of salvation. People use dogmas as religious cloaks to intercept your divine right of use and to conform it to being tricked and convinced to be classified under a fraudulent term of things and property. We're going to keep going. Under the dogma of salvation, salvation is the right to control the monetization of sin. Wow. Oh, man. Did we read that? Salvation is the right to make money, to control the money of sin. Monetization means to make money. So Rome is saying that if you have money, then that's called monetization of sin. And if you have monetization ability, then that means you are savageable. This some wicked S. This some wicked S right here. Salvation is the essential false concept underpinning brokenness, depthness, in-depthness, and almost all money systems of the world. Today. Today. Oh, man. money today. Let me see. Let me show y'all why Asa said what he said. Show y'all under the version. Let's see why this was said. I don't. You got some Mark 12:17. You know they got it spread it out in the Gospels. Luke 20:25, Matthew 22:21. Render unto Caesar the money that are Caesar's, and unto all the things that are all's. All. See what I'm saying? So back then, in the early first century, this why I saw flip the money changers table. Money changing was a sign of monetization of sin, which underpins all debts and money systems. You always got to pay, pay, pay. And now you can pay with your body, your soul, your mind, your spirit, because all this under Romanism is considered not violating divine law agreed upon by your consent. Just by being ignorant. This is why the Sufyan is here. To let you know why you've been hearing these words, but they ain't been telling you what they say, ignorance of the law, right? They say ignorance of the law, right? Let me show you what the Sufyan said. Ignorance, not of the law, ignorance, period, is no excuse. You ignoring these words and tracing these words back to their origin for you to understand, so you do not ignore what's happening and you know the truth of what's happening to self. So ignorance is no excuse. You can't use ignorance as an excuse. Ignorance to be used is no excuse. So once again, this is why they feel like they can do it. Because as we read, when they write it down, this is how they violate divine law without violating divine law. Because it's against or for your consent. And let me let you know, you got to have a trilateral consent as consensus for all mutual consensual agreements to be considered mutual and fair. So salvation is one of the worst words that we have never even known, that comes from a dead language representing dead when we are the living representing the life. So this is why they have created the Tower of Babel, which confused the world with languages. It's okay to speak languages, but we're talking about the creator's name in your language does not change. The sound of it might change, but the name of it doesn't change. Let's continue. 4186. Let's see what else we can find about salvation. And then they have the guts to say, deliver, I am saved. Saved means salvation. You want to say you are redeemed, mean you reform your own behavior through self. Okay, let's get back to the paragraph 86. Under the creation of the set stew, Key V Trust, that was created in 1540 by Romanism, who has since franchised, incorporated out of the salvaging of souls to several churches, Protestant churches. Is that what Martin Luther stood for as a Protestant church? Now, Protestant church are involved through salvation, through salvation under the dogma of salvation. So that the biggest promoters of salvage through salvation are now evangelical and new churches apart from the traditional Christian churches, spreading, promoting unholiness, non-sacredness, and non-divine. I want y'all to see for your own eyes the divine. See? Divine creator. Wisdom of the divine. All people have the capacity for divine inspiration. The resting place of the divine. The doorway to heaven. Divine creator. This is nowhere in religious text. These are the Christians that knew about the divine creator in the first century. What I'm looking for. There we go. Divine law and civilization. The first law is divine law. And so the law of all, number 8, all is the divine creator, is the divine creator of all things. All is the collection of all words, all ideas, in all form. There's nothing greater than the divine creator. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. So this is what's been played. The ritual of savaging of souls, this is what you get with the children, is continued in many Roman-controlled societies today with the absurd and extremely dangerous practice of placing silver nitrate solution in the eyes of the baby and a drop on the lips in honor of the 3 coins, Judas, and the true meaning of treasure, prior to the paperwork birth certificate of a new baby being processed to create a new slave baby under Romanism. Man, this is awareness right here. Canon 4188, as the dogma of salvation is deliberately false. This is why it's not in the Al Sufyan, even to the followers of the Roman cult. This is deliberately false, as well as being founded upon fraudulent claims. The concept, the dogma of fictional salvation, it is forbidden, denounced, and not permitted to be revived. I give you, I return to you, I reinstate you to the first law, which is divine law. And so the law of all is the divine creator of all things. So there is nothing greater, just to keep it short. All law must come from the divine and all. So salvation, salvation, and we'll return for grace. So we now are aware of salvation and the original meaning of salvation. We denounce salvation. Salvation is forbidden, and salvation is not permitted to be revived in North America. Peace and love and wisdom divine. Like, share, subscribe for others to become aware of the divine truth. I salam, 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 wadu.